All right, today we're going to check out and review something that doesn't need to exist. That is the We Elementum. So I'm editing this video, right? And I'm noticing a reoccurring theme. And the reoccurring theme is there's really only one reason to buy this knife. Let's see if you guys can pick it out. Before we start roasting everything that this knife is, let's go over some of the details. We'll talk about the bad, what it does average, what it does great, and whether or not I think it's worth it. And its $175 price tag that it carries. We're going to look at the frame lock side while we're talking about most of this, because A, it likes to sit better, and B, it actually kind of looks better. So all of these sides are actually filleted. What that means is they are rounded, not kind of angular. So they're all curved down, and it looks really, really nice. I have to give them credit for the way that they did these scales. They definitely feel premium. These three relief cuts are going to leave the lock bar a little bit tighter, but they do look kind of cool there too. The pocket clip right here is not recessed, but it is using flat screws, so that's a good thing. Carrying on the style from the original Elementum, here we have that little relief cut that the original Elementum had within its scales. It serves as the lanyard hole, but with the original Elementum, this is actually the shadow box portion, and this is just the liner, while this is actually milled into the titanium to look like the original. Since we got these two together, let's talk about the differences and similarities. The pocket clip actually looks really similar. The only difference is they didn't mill out the inside and they actually tapered off the bill. It is titanium though. One thing you can see here with the premium Elementum, they added 2 more jimps. I desperately feel like there's a joke to be had here. I'm literally making a fist and clenching it like, yeah, we got a joke. I don't have one. 2 jimps. As you can see, the We and Civivi are just about the same thickness. There's an extra 2 jimps on the flipper tab. They added 2 more jimps. They have a theme of 2 going on here. The blades are virtually the same. The liner has a lot more jimps. Maybe that's where they borrowed it for the other 4. Just got it. But the frame lock actually has this nice scalloping going on with a little bit of milling pattern there, so it's going to be softer to the touch. The standoffs look very similar, but they're not. There's a slight difference going on there. Actually, the standoffs on the We Elementum are a little bit wider. It's harder to show here, but they're a little bit flatter and wider against the body. Also, you can tell there is a slight difference in placement. They're both going to be riding on ceramic ball bearings. I have to say, of the two, the action on the Civivi's better. That lock bar is just really tight on the We Elementum. Once it breaks in, it's going to be a dream. It's just going to take a long time to break in due to that coating on the blade. The Civivi's weighing at 2.72. The We is coming in at a 3.28. Must be all those extra jimps. Here it is up against the Civivi Praxis. Right here we have your typical rat sandwich. Here it is up next to the Benchmade Bug Out. Now this is probably one of the knives that it needs to be compared to, because if you're going to compete at this price range, you need to compete with the Bug Out. And from carrying the two, I can tell you the We Elementum comes nowhere close to the Bug Out. Last but not least, here it is next to your conventionally large knife, the Off-Grid Knife Scorpion. All right, let's jump right into the bad. Now, I think if they would have milled out the scales on the inside, like totally eliminating a huge chunk of this weight. I mean, this thing, what did we say it was coming in at, like 3.4 ounces? You could get this back down to the original Civivi weight if you tried, and then that would make it a pretty badass knife. This is a pretty heavy knife. The benefit of the original Elementum is that it was easy to carry. This is not easy to carry like the original Elementum. Don't get me wrong, it's still pretty easy to carry, but the original Elementum was basically a cheap Bug Out. It's thin, it's light, and it disappears. This does not. So let's talk about the average. The action on this. Yes, it's going to break in beautifully. This will be amazing once it breaks in. But unfortunately, it's going to take you probably 3 years. Because there's something about how tight this lock bar is versus that coating. You would think it would wear in quicker, but it has a lot more to wear in. Right? That's really the point. If it was a light lock bar, you wouldn't need it as much. You wouldn't need that much of a track to wear in. Even with the coating, you could just get this tiny little, but this is going to have to actually wear in pretty heavily in order to get drop shut. I do believe it will, but oh my goodness, you guys see how much work that takes? So this action is definitely average or subpar for the average We knife. Second thing that I find average, and it's not the pocket clip itself, it is the pocket clip placement. I wish they would just freaking commit here. I think the pocket clip looks really good, and you have this elegant style We Elementum. Commit. Just sink it down, make it look good. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. I think that they maybe should have gotten rid of the deep carry too, because you can feel that in hand as you're here. So what's good about this knife? Well, what is good about this knife is everything that is good about the original Elementum. The blade is pretty badass. It feels pretty damn good. It's still going to carry well despite me harping on the fact that they did no weight relieving, which they should have, and that it's kind of a little bit tankier. It's almost half of an ounce larger than the original Elementum, if not a full ounce. But it still carries well. It feels very substantial in hand. And they rounded off all of these edges, making it such a beautiful dream. This does kind of feel better than the original Elementum because everything feels a little softer. The last thing that I think is great about this knife is this finish. They finished this titanium so beautifully. Oh my gosh. I think this is probably the best finish I've seen on any We. And so, you know what? I'll give them a little bit of credit there. I think this knife looks gorgeous. I think it does. It's a pretty damn good looking knife. Will it cut? Well, I've been using it for some time, and it cuts stupid well. So this is going to be a really good EDC for you guys. Do I think it's a good knife? If the Civivi Elementum didn't exist, if this didn't exist, right? That knife would be an absolute killer. But because this exists, it kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. Instead of this being a unique knife, you just took this and tried to make it better. You made it more premium, but you didn't make it better. Look, all in all, is this knife worth $175? Yeah, it's a pretty fair price, okay? Is it gimmicky? Oh yeah, why not try to bank off of the Civivi Elementum train? Why not try to suck out some more money from the consumers? I mean, that's what they're doing here. And we'll buy it. I think it's a good knife. As I said, if this was a standalone Elementum, this would be a really, really good knife. The fact is we have to compare it with its Civivi counterpart, giving it that little extra weird dynamic that makes it leave just a little bit of a sour taste in our mouth. At the end of the day, reviewing this as a knife, it's pretty damn good. It's your typical We. It's great. Do I recommend this over the Civivi Elementum? The only reason you would ever buy this over the S35 Civivi Elementum costing $80 is you just like the titanium scales. I think they're gorgeous, but you can get titanium from titanium for like 60 bucks, but they won't look like this. This is the only reason to buy this knife, is the look. That's it.